Just as an entry task, here's a question. Look at the boxes. These are story elements, literary elements. And then in the bottom left-hand corner, we call them literary devices. So the elements are what make up the story. The devices are kind of the flair that adds to it. So think about them and what you know about the theme, which may, again, be very little or a lot. And which items on the board do you think help develop the theme or show the reader the theme, contribute to the theme? Okay, we're going to be talking about theme here in just a minute. But your targets, what you should be able to do by the end of our session is you should be able to say, I can determine the theme or central idea of a text and analyze its development over the course of the text. So we're watching a movie, but there's also the Interlopers short story is in your literature book, which if you haven't found it is in course materials. So the movie version is different than the one in the book, but you can still practice literary analysis by watching the movie and finding these elements, and then you can apply that to any story you read. And then the second I can statement is, the book. So Rowan, the book is if you go into the course, and everyone, it'd be good to have the course open right now. So while I'm talking, you can go and open 106A. If you click on course materials, the literature, the digital copy is there. And what's kind of cool is you can actually, if you have a Kindle app on a tablet or your phone, you can download the literature book to your phone or book. I have it on my phone. The other I can statement is that I can analyze, I forgot I then. I can analyze how complex characters develop over the course of a text, how they interact with others, and how they advance the plot or develop the theme. So again, it's all that funneling into what is the theme? What is the author trying to say about the world or about people or about society? Here's what a theme statement is not, and I get this a lot. If I said, what's the theme of this movie? And you said, I think the theme is a feud. Okay, then my answer to you would be, what about a feud? Okay, there's a lot of things that we could say about a feud. Or you might say the theme is nature. Well, it doesn't work to just say a one-word answer, does it? Because theme is never the topic. I could say the topic is a feud, or I could say the topic is nature, but that's not getting to the theme. We have to take it a step further. Stories. So you might say the theme is about overcoming fear, right? Or facing your fear helps you to overcome it. Then that's more of a global, general statement that works as a theme statement. Is this making sense so far? So today, when you have the opportunity to state the theme in your little mini quiz, don't say a one-word answer, and don't say, this is what happened in the story, right? Okay, what a good theme statement is it's a full sentence about the topic. So you should be able to say something like, I think the theme is that people can oftentimes be paralyzed by irrational fear. Okay, so I've made a general statement, and I saw this played out in the movie or the book. I think that's what the author's trying to point out. Or it's a global statement about people, society, the world, okay? And so keep those in mind as you come to the conclusion of what you think the theme is. Now, what we're going to do now is I want you to watch a short film, of the Interlopers. It has the same conflict. It has the same storyline. It's a different setting than what's in the book, and one of the characters' names is different. You don't really have to know their names necessarily. But you're going to need to go into the course, and this is the Class Connects Targeted Learning Unit. When you click on that, you see this little icon, right? You're going to click on this Interlopers short film, and it's going to play the video for you, but it's going to stop every couple of minutes. It's going to ask you a question. Do your best based on what you're watching, and when you're done, you submit it. And this is a graded assignment. You're going to give me a green check, and then we're going to talk about this video in respects to the story elements and the theme, okay? And so I pulled some anonymous responses from the quiz. You guys are doing great. If you feel like you want to try the quiz again, let me know. I can do a reset, and you can take it all over again. So we've got friend conflict. Now that's a great topic sentence, and then the person went on to explain what was happening in the story specifically, right? And so in order to make this a working theme statement, you might say, you have to say something about friend conflict and what the story is trying to tell us, not necessarily what was specifically happening in the story. I know this is a really tricky concept. So what about friend conflict? What is it? So actually, whoever did this did an awesome job. Okay, so I'm going to tie these two together. Okay, and look at the difference. It is better to put aside your hate and become friends. Okay, that's a theme statement. That's a general statement that is a big idea that seems to be played out in the conflict between the two men. Okay, so this one is a good start to a theme statement, but this one over here is actually spot on. Okay. And what I love is that you're trying and working toward a theme statement, okay? And then the other one here, I think the theme is that the two men were hurt by the tree falling, and they got into argument about it, and then they realized they need each other. Okay, so I think this is a great start too. And the thing that I like is that what they realized that they need each other, that we can transform that into a theme statement that when people are placed in a situation where they need one another, they will often set aside differences. Okay? So does this make sense, the difference between those two? Okay, good. So when you're doing your literary analysis assignment, I'm going to be looking for statements that are more like this. Okay, more global, like the moral or whatever, even though it's not necessarily a moral, it's an observation. Sometimes it's a moral, but sometimes it's just an observation. That's okay, Sam. Okay, so real quickly, I do want to show you that assignment. This document is in the course, and instead of a multiple choice test, this assignment allows you to practice your writing and allows you to show me that you know how to talk about the character, the setting, the theme, okay? And there's a chart here. And this is really just a plan, like a recipe. And this first the first sentence says you're just going to do a topic sentence, and you're going to have a thesis. And so in that, it says, introduce the story title, the author, and the proposed theme. Now, you can do it over the movie that you just watched, or you can do it over the short story. You can choose. And so you would use the story title the same, but the author or writer, you're going to have to get that from the movie, maybe watch the film again, and then, of course, from the literature book, you'd get the author. And you just would say, the story by this author seems to be saying this. And that's where we go back to our theme statement, right? Oops, back to where we were talking. And then it says, do a sentence or two, just give me a summary about, you know, like, what is this about? What's the movie about? What's the story about? Don't get into too much detail. It's really, the gist is, you should be able to just sum it up in a couple sentences. This is about a conflict, da-da-da, this happened and that, okay? And then this is where you have to shift out of summary. Don't just tell me the whole story. Then you're going to talk about, I'm going to talk about the setting and how that helps set up that maybe it's about nature in control. Okay, this is another typical theme that students like to write about. If you kind of pay attention to the fact that nature is very heavily handed in the story, like, you know, the wolves and the tree, and so some students like to write about how nature is, man thinks he's controlling nature, but nature is really in control. So the setting would be like one of those elements that kind of supports that, doesn't it? And then you just talk about it in the next, this next little part right here. And then you would do the same with another literary device. You might talk about the character. Okay, how did they change? And how did that change show us the theme? Now, this assignment just has to be a paragraph. So when you just take the chart, the little part that you mapped out, and you put it in a paragraph.